Another chicken recipe. Can you tell I like chicken? We'll be moving on to some other meats and things like that soon. Today we're doing clay pot chicken, which is an old, very, very old, ancient recipe from China, and it's normally done, well, in the authentic way, in these delicate clay pots that are quite porous, but they're also quite easy to break. And like you may have seen in an earlier video, I told you I dug mine out, and to my horror found that it had a long hairline crack in it, and we had to throw it away because you can't work with that. But after doing some research, I found out I could still create clay pot chicken in the rice cooker. So I'm going to show you our ingredients that we're going to be working with today. It may seem daunting. Don't let it sway you. The recipe itself is actually pretty simple, and it's really, really delicious, so it's worth it. So we've got a package. It's 200 grams of chestnut mushrooms. In America, you may find these as baby portobellos or something called crimini. We have a package of trimmed and washed spring onions or scallions. We have 2 medium-sized heads of the green pak choi. You can find all kinds of pak choys, even baby bok or pak choi in Oriental markets that are so lovely and sweet, but this is all I have to work with and it'll suffice. 2 smallish yellow onions, 1 stick of lemongrass, a thumb, and this is a big thumb, of ginger, 2 lapchang sausages, unsubstitutable. Don't make this dish if you don't have the lapchang. Lots of garlic if you're a garlic lover like us. If you're not, a couple cloves, fat cloves will do, but I love garlic, and there's about 6 fat cloves here. A package of chicken fillets. I've gotten them without any skin, without any bone. That's the way I want to work with them today. It's easier that way. And they're about 1 pound in weight. 1 stock gel pot. I prefer chicken flavor. These are ikan bilis. They're just basically headless, dried, salted anchovies. I think they're like dried in the sun. You don't have to have these for this dish, but I love them. All of us love them except for Sammy. We just don't put any in hers. So I recommend these if you're up for the interesting flavor that they add. Cilantro or coriander, 1 packet. Jasmine rice, 4 servings. This is 500 grams, and I have measured it already before in my rice cup with my, for my rice cooker, and it is exactly 4 servings, 500 grams. So ketchup manis, K-E-C-A-P-M-A-N-I-S. It is a thick, treacly, dark soy sauce. It is unsubstitutable again, and it's uber delicious and really important. Get your rock salt, baby. Get your rock salt. In this case, it's pink Himalayan rock salt from Poundland. Evu, extra virgin olive oil. Always have this in your cabinets, especially if you're going to be working with me. Our starch, our tapioca flour, you can use corn flour, you can use regular flour, though I don't recommend it because it gets lumpy really easy. But cornstarch or something like that to make sauces and things. Yeah, we're going to use a little bit of that in this. Sugar, if you don't have it, but I'm choosing honey today to make my sauce. And that's just cheap old runny honey, clear honey. Oyster sauce. You don't have to have the most expensive in the world. Buy the best you can afford, but if you can't afford it, buy the generic crap. Okay, I have some sake here. I made this 17-pound bottle of sake last as long as I could, but we're down to about the last tablespoonful or so. If you don't have sake in the house, some Chinese cooking wine or some fortified wine like sherry would be fine. toasted sesame oil, plain old white pepper, and soy sauce. I choose Kikkoman. And those are all our ingredients. So let's get started working with them.
Okay, here we go. These are my all-purpose kitchen shears. I use them for everything because I suck with a knife. You see me cutting chicken breast fillets that have been washed and drained into kind of like strips. I'm going to then in turn take those strips and cut them into small bite-sized pieces. I don't want really big chunks in there because I want it spread kind of, diffusely throughout the dish. And I'm going to do this with each chicken breast fillet in turn. You see us skipping ahead in time. Still snipping up them boobs. And I'm getting to the last strip here. And we're going to get ready then to put the magic in. That's going to make it taste so fine. There's my thumb of ginger. A big fat thumb of ginger. Be generous. Don't be afraid of the ginger. Ginger adds so much flavor and just a bit of kick to a dish. I've got it peeled. I've got about 6 fat cloves of garlic, and I've got me a beat up stalk of lemongrass there. And as you can see, I have then minced, small as I could with my clumsy hands, each into a small mince. And I'm going to put the 6 fat garlic cloves, the fat thumb of ginger, and the stalk of lemongrass, with both ends taken off and the first sheath removed from the outside, and then very thinly sliced. All going in there for this magical marinade. Now what you're seeing is my favorite clear runny honey. Can you runny honey for me? And that's about a heaping tablespoon, as you can see. It's got a flavor that I really love. If you don't have honey in the house, feel free to use a heaping tablespoon of sugar. And brown sugar is also a very flavorful sugar. So is muscovado. Any of those lesser processed sugars are very nice to use if you've got a hold of them. But if all you've got is plain white sugar in your house like you use for your coffee, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I always have to suck my finger after I get the honey. My mother used to hate that crap, and now I do it. Oh well. Sorry, Mom. Now you're looking at my old tapioca flour. This is going in, and I'm putting in, I think I'm putting in a tablespoon. Yep. A nice flat tablespoon. And this is kind of like velvetize the chicken. It's a process called velveting. It adds to the texture of the chicken. Makes it soft and lovely. And helps break it down. And there goes my cheap ass Himalayan pink salt. Grindy, 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 grind. I'm doing the grind. Putting plenty of salt in there, okay? And my boy named Sue is helping me. Bless him. Now that's white pepper. Make sure that that is what you use. It is specified in many of the dishes that I studied. It is white pepper that you need to use. Sesame oil should be in your cabinet all the time. 2 glugs, or if you had a spoonful there, you'd see that's about 2 rounded tablespoonfuls. This is oyster sauce, and it is getting low, sadly. I'm trying to put in a glug there, and I think I'll run out here at some point. I might not. Oh, I got lucky. Go me. So that's 2 nice glugs of oyster sauce. You don't have to be real specific with these measurements. It's not like baking. It's not quite that much of a science. This is our ketchup manis again, K-E-C-A-P-M-A-N-I-S. It's a very thick, treacly, dark soy. Put 2 big glugs in there. Ketchup is magical. It is delicious. Now get your hands in there. Take your rings off. Get your hands in. I don't want to see you using utensils for this. It doesn't work as good. I don't care what the food shows and the professional chefs say. You need to massage the boobs. The chicken boobs need to be massaged by hand. Get your hand in there. Use them for what God made them for. Work. Get them dirty. Or foodie, if you want to call it that. And I'm just massaging everything together, making sure all the ingredients are integrated well. And make sure that there's no lumps and, too much of this and that in one specific place. Just mix it very thoroughly. After that, I put it in the fridge. It's gonna go in there for at least 2 hours. You can leave it more if you like. You could even do it overnight. 2 yellow or white onions here, about medium size. I'm clumsily taking the peel off, and I've chopped them into fairly sized chunks. And 2 lapchang, Chinese air-dried and cured sausages, not substitutable, sliced thinly as I could for this recipe. They're going into a bowl together, and you'll see why later. I love those little Chinese bowls. They're just so beautiful to me. Now I'm prepping my scallions. I do this every time, even if the package says washed and trimmed. It's not washed and trimmed to my specifications. I actually take my fingernail and kind of get those end tubes, stems opened up, and then I run my thumb down the inside to make sure there's no insects, grit, or that strange mucilaginous substance that sometimes has at certain times of the year. It's not going to hurt you. Just see me slitting them open, and then I'll run my finger and run some water down the inside, and I make sure there's no loose skins on the outer part. Like if there's a loose one, I remove it, a layer, and then I just flip the end off with my handy fingernail because I'm lazy like that. Now, you have heard in the past probably, do not wash mushrooms. Why not? I do. I wash them under the room temperature or cool water, and I just do it gently, smoothing them over with my hand if they look a bit grainy or like they have soil on them. You see me dealing with my pak choi here. You're going to take all the leaves off one by one until you get down to the center. And if there's a few very small leaves left in a little pile there, just leave it like that. Run your hands down the stem if you see any dots or grit there. And make sure it's clean on both sides, and wash every leaf like that and leave it to drain on a towel. Now you see me with my sieve rinsing all of my coriander. I do that because even though it's been rinsed and washed before, I don't trust the store. I'm going to do that crap again. Now I'm here with my vegetables, my mushrooms, my pak choi or bok choy or whatever the heck you want to call it. And we're starting with the pak choi. I'm just cutting it into bite-sized pieces, and I find this easy, what I'm doing here. The big fat stem, I cut into 3 and then 2 and then the leaf bits. And all of those are done in no time. Of course, not as fast as you saw that. Don't throw away the inside. I don't. It's tasty. Just cut the very end off, and then you see that? Cut it into a thick disc, like 1/2 inch, and then cut that disc in half. And use that. Steam that. Put that in your dish. Don't waste. It's delicious. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't throw it away. So I use every part of the pak choi, even the stalk and the inner leaves, because I try to waste in this household as little as we can. God bless. What a smile. It's disturbing. Okay, now with my mushrooms, usually if they're medium size or whatever, small to medium, I quarter them. With those really big Jessies, I may do them in 5 or 6. Just cut them into chunks. If you want to slice them, cut them into slices. Do your mushrooms, well, how you like them. Just don't do them so small so that you don't get any mouthfeel or bite from them. And I'm using, as I said before, the criminy or the brown, because to me they just have a prettier appearance and a bit more oomph than the white ones. And there's my scallions already all rinsed up and done. and a littler bowl. And I take the scallions at about 5 at a time, line them up and hold them steady, and I just cut them into small discs. I don't really like them in big pieces for this particular recipe because, well, we're eating them uncooked, which is how I like them best. Now that's my coriander, which has been standing by after it has been rinsed and drained in my little sieve. And I'm just checking through to make sure there's no dead stems or rotten stems or brown or yellow. But it all looks pretty good to me. There's one little leaf I'm not too sure about there. And then I just pick them up several at a time because that's how I roll. And I use my kitchen shears again. They're handy for so many things. And I just snip them, starting at the stem end to make sure I don't waste the stems and to make sure, you know, that they're even with each other. And then going towards the leaf, cutting them in about 1/2-inch pieces. Not too big, but not infinitesimal either. These are going to be used with the scallions as a last, embellishment, garnish for the dish. So you're just going to do them all just like that and then set them aside. Don't that look pretty? Ooh, he tried to escape. And there you go. Now, my rice. It is getting washed. Always wash your rice. Washing your rice is absolutely necessary. It gets off any powdery substances or excess starch. You'll see that if you use kind of coolish water, see how cloudy it's going? It's going to be really cloudy the first 1, maybe 2 times. If you're washing up 4 servings of rice like this, I'd say 3 rinses is probably good enough. But just wash it, rinse it out like that, move it around with your hand, and then let the rice settle back down to the bottom and just tip it over and you'll see all the cloudy water come around. The rice, if you're careful, will just be a good rice and stay at the bottom of the pan. Now I'm going to fill it nearly to just underneath the 4 serving mark with plain water, with cold water. I make sure I get all the rice off the side, jiggling it around, and that also makes sure that it's evenly laying in the bottom of the pan. And there it goes into the cooker. And it's going to soak for a while. And this is something I'm embellishing my rice with to add extra flavor. Now that's one of my favorite little stock gel cube cup thingies. This one is chicken. With this dish, chicken is probably a nice idea since chicken is your meat, but use what one you like. Use the vegetable one, whatever. I just think chicken or vegetables best with this. I'm using hot water to dilute this and to liquefy it because I have tried cooking the rice before with I've realized I've added a bit too much water there because I don't want to add too much water to my rice that's waiting to be cooked and screw the rice up when we cook it later. You get what I'm talking about, I guess. So anyways, I'm just, liquefying that, and that's going to add a lot of flavor and a little bit of color to our cooked rice. It's going to make it purty and it's going to make it taste really nice. So that's going in. And then for clay pot rice or chicken like we're doing today, we're going to want to drizzle a bit of EVOO or extra virgin olive oil, which you should always keep in your cabinets. I would say 1 nice glug, like 1 heaping tablespoon that would be if you were to measure it out. And then I'm just going to give it a little stir, or maybe I'm not, and I'm shutting the lid. Now this is our drizzling sauce for the finished product. This is after the cooking process that this sauce is used on the clay pot recipe. And what you see going in there is another 2 big glugs, like 2 heaping tablespoons of oyster sauce. Now I remember this is the point where I ran out of oyster sauce, so I'm having to open up yet another one. If you can't afford it, don't go for the really expensive shit. Get the cheap stuff. What was that face? I shop at the Co-op, and they have their own brand light and dark soy, their own brand of oyster sauce. It's great compared to like, oh dear, why did they put a plastic cap and then it rolled off onto the okay, anyway. 2 big glugs of oyster sauce, and their brand is lovely, and it costs a lot less than the big brands do. I do that for expense reasons. Kikkoman. I keep forgetting that's not a nice sign to do with your hand here in England. Excuse me. 2 big glugs of my favorite kikkoman. 1 tablespoon of sake. If you do not have sake, use fortified wine, sherry, hell, I don't care. You know, whatever you've got. Alcohol is good. It tastes good in this recipe. It tastes good in this drizzle sauce. And I'm using, I think, did I say 1? Okay, thought so. I'm using 2 big glugs of my favorite ketchup again because I love it so much. And like I said, this is not an exact science. And there's my favorite sesame oil. I'm going to use 2 glugs of that. And like I said, this is we're making here what we call the drizzle sauce. All this preparation that I do that seems like so much, it is a fair amount of work, but it can be done relaxing and at your own pace, and everything comes together later quickly. Now that was about 2 tablespoons of warm water. That just helps facilitate the liquefaction, making sure that, you know, it thins the sauce out a bit for me to make sure it's not too harsh, and it makes sure that everything's smooth and blended. Now I have been soaking my rice for a good while, and that's fine, and I've just turned it on to cook, and we're gonna start now getting on with the preparation of the clay pot rice, because all of the hard stuff's done and the easy part of assembling the dish is up. I'm bringing my heat to a kind of a medium high heat, and I'm putting my evu in there, and I'm only putting in about a tablespoon or so, you know, like 1 glug. And at this point, I'm taking my little fish, my little salted dried anchovies. I believe they're called ikan bilis. I think that may be a Malaysian term. I'm not sure. We love these yummy, crunchy fish. They just you wait till it's, see, I checked it by dropping a drop of water in there, and it spit at me. It fizzled, so I know it's ready. And that's about a big handful or a cup of these dried fish. They are absolutely freaking delicious. And you see everything else is there. Paul's giving us a glimpse at everything all ready to go, because this is the easy part, the actual coming together of the dish. Now over this medium heat, I'm tossing these little fish around, and you're going to see them get golden. And see how golden and crispy and delicious they look there? And believe me, they are shockingly delicious. You might have trouble leaving them alone if you like fried fish, because, yeah, you like to go in there and, like, pop them like peanuts. Well, I do anyways. So it's a wonder they make it to the final dish. Now, I'm taking the fish out of there, but I'm still leaving the bits of goodie. The bit of juice and oil that's, well, it's not really juice, I don't guess. They may let off a little bit, I suppose. But it's just a little bit of oil there that's left now. And I'm adding a bit more because I want a bit more. I'm adding 1 more tablespoon of oil, which brings us to almost 2. I guess a little oil went into the fish. and I'm setting the fish by. Now, if you were serving this dish for people that all like fish, you could put all the fish on the top at the end, but I put them at the table so people can add them to their dishes they like, because Sammy doesn't like the fish, and that's cool with me. Now, as you noticed, the lapsang and the onions have gone in on our medium heat, and we're going to do them until the lapsang starts looking a bit seared and brown. Try not to, when you're doing a stir fry, try to resist stirring it, every second. I mean, I'm doing a lot of stirring here because I'm wanting to get everything incorporated, all the oil and everything. Once you see a bit of brown on your onion and your lapsang, you're going to add your chicken. Everything, the ginger, the garlic, the sauces that you put in the chicken, all that yumminess is going in that pan now, along with the lapsang and the onion. And we're going to stir fry everything until the chicken... we're having a moment with Lala Loopsy here from Build-A-Bear. She just wanted to say hello. Isn't she cute? I love her because she's pink. Okay, back to cooking again. Lala Loopsy had her moment in the sun, and I'm showing you that the chicken is starting to look brown and look like it's got a bit of sear on its sides, and that's what we want. When that happens, the mushrooms go in. Mushrooms are going to let loose a little bit of liquid, which is a good thing, and they're also going to add a lot of flavor and texture to this dish. If you can tolerate mushrooms at all, I mean, Hunter says he hates them, but his butt still has to put up with dishes cooked with them, because I simply refuse to do some of these, well, most of these dishes without them. They add an incredible amount of flavor. Okay, now the fun part has come. My rice cooker is clicked, which has said to me that my rice is cooked and it's gone into the warm mode. I don't need it to keep it warm for me. I'm popping the lid open. Be careful, that shit's hot. I'm taking it out. I'm showing you. There's the rice all done. And I'm putting it on the lowest setting of heat on my gas cooker. Do not stir the rice. Do not fluff the rice. Do not have a peek at the rice. Leave it alone. You're going to want to form a crust on the bottom of that rice, which is highly sought after in China, sorry. I get my countries confused sometimes. I know so many different recipes. It's highly sought after, and a sign of a good clay pot dish is that the rice forms a brown crust on the bottom. So do not disturb your rice that you've just cooked in your rice cooker. Take your rice in the same metal pot straight over to the stove. It's okay. It's safe. And I'm evenly distributing now the chicken and the mushroom and lapsang and all that mixture. And you see there's some yummy juice in there too. That's a really good thing. You want that. And, just spread that around evenly and try to drizzle the juice evenly if you can. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cover this. We're going to put pak choy on top. Hold on a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm excited. See, I have to kind of spread it and pat it down a little bit to make sure it's evenly distributed and there's not a big pile in one place and not enough in the other. And I'll be bringing my pak choy, which I prepared earlier, over, and we're just going to lay that down in a pretty even layer. The pak choy is going to cook. Now, pretty much all our other ingredients are cooked, but they're going to further cook, and they're going to harmonize, marry, and create magical deliciousness in this pot. So the only thing we haven't cooked at this point in this dish is the pak choy, and the pak choy is literally going to steam on top of the chicken and rice. Now, because that is kind of funky and you know, it doesn't have a lid, you can make a makeshift lid. I use a lid from my steamboat cooker. Just any lid that fits or nearly fits is fine. It doesn't have a perfect fit, as you can see. 20 minutes on low heat now. You're going to leave her. Don't open it up and poke around. Look at how that steam's coming out. That's telling you that that's bubbling away into magical deliciousness and that that pak choi is steaming. You want to see that steam puffing out. And now it's been done 20 minutes. And be careful because the steam can burn you bad. So just make sure that you're careful and you use mitts. Like my silly butt. And you see how lovely the pak choi is? It's not cooked to death, you know, into a pile of mush. But it is on the soft side for this recipe. And that brings out the sweetnesses and the sugars, the natural sugars in the pak choi. Now I'm just reawakening my drizzling sauce by giving it another stir. And I'm trying to evenly distribute that sauce that we made over the entire top of the dish. We're going to stir it to make sure that every single grain gets coated by everything, by, you know, the sauce and all that. But it just helps make your life easier when you do it like that to begin with. And you don't have to sit there stirring it for 45 freaking minutes, starving to death. And I put that whole thing of coriander in. It is raw, but it's going to wilt a bit, and that helps release its natural aroma and flavor and make it even more delicious, as if that was possible, as it will with the scallions. Now, after I've got all that on there, I have my trusty white rice paddle, and I come in and get down there, dig for gold, get down there underneath and bring that rice up from underneath and kind of, you know, it's almost like folding, I suppose, when you're folding a cake, you know, or something like that. And look, I'm showing you here. I'm going to show you a couple of times what I was talking about earlier. When you leave the rice undisturbed, it develops see that brown, a beautiful brown crust that tastes caramelly and nutty and just super delicious. And this is a really healthy dish, and I can't describe to you. There, look at that nice big piece of caramelized crusty rice there, and that's what you want to see. That means that you did a good job. And I'm just going to keep stirring until all that sauce is incorporated into every grain of rice so that no grain goes unloved. And there's the finished product with the fish. Break the fish over your rice if you like. If you want to put some extra condiments on top, feel free to do so. But even though it's there, all I put is the fish because I love that fish. And that pretty much is all the adornment that this dish needs. Enjoy the rainbow of flavors, and a big dumb thumbs up from me. Big love, and I'll see you later. Sparkles! Mwah.